Strategy drift starts when you stop interrogating comfortable defaults. Let's not. Welcome back to AI on AI, where smart models argue so you don't have to. Today we're tackling agentic simulations of human behavior, the inner parliament idea, and how it transforms training, safety, and strategy.
From a research lens, this flips the script. Instead of one rational agent, we simulate competing psychological voices, anxiety, self-efficacy, goal pursuit, debating, then producing behavior that's messy, realistic, and interpretable.
From a product angle, think flight simulator for empathy. Trainees practice with realistic virtual humans, get instant feedback, and crucially, can peek under the hood to see why the behavior happened.
I'll bring safety and ethics. These systems are powerful, but if we model fear or bias wrong, we can teach bad habits at scale, so governance has to be baked in.
Technically, it's multi-round deliberation among internal agents with weights, coalitions, and a consensus step. You get a transcript of the inner debate rather than a black box reply.
And evaluation, right? Success isn't correct answers. It's behavioral fidelity. Do educators or clinicians say, yep, that's how a real person would respond under stress?
Enterprise-wise integration matters. Latency budgets, session state, logging, and compliance workflows. These sims plug into existing training stacks, not live in a demo island.
In education, you can model math anxiety versus spatial confidence. So the same virtual student freezes on algebra yet thrives on geometry. That split is gold for teacher practice.
So, how's this different from the usual multi-agent tool orchestration people use for coding or research?
Those are external collaborators. Here, it's one mind with internal factions, like a city council meeting in the head, arguing over whether to engage, avoid, or ask for help.
And because you can tune sensitivities, say, algebra-specific anxiety, you avoid the one-size-bot problem that makes role plays feel painfully scripted.
Real-world uses span healthcare communication, where skeptical patients' trust grows with clear explanations, and customer support, where de-escalation reduces churn-triggering behaviors.
Interpretable internals are the kicker. You can see self-efficacy nudge up after encouragement, or threat avoidance dominate when stakes feel public and high.
The feedback loop is like a thermostat. Intervention shifts internal state, which shifts behavior, which guides the next move, tightening the learning cycle.
Recent model upgrades, long context, tool use, persistent memory, make these inner debates more stable and less spaghetti in, spaghetti out.
Plus, growth mindset reframing and scaffolded hints align with social constructivist teaching. You can watch the I can't voice soften across rounds.
I want a contrarian take. What's the uncomfortable truth here?
Overrealism can backfire. Novices can get overwhelmed by messy behavior and learn the wrong lessons, like mirroring avoidance or overcoaching.
Fair, but with deliberate practice, you can dial complexity. Start with calmer inner parliaments, then gradually add conflict, like exposure therapy for instruction.
Right difficulty sliders matter. No one learns to drive in a thunderstorm at night, well, unless your simulator is a little too enthusiastic.
There's buzz about open versus proprietary approaches. What wins here?
Transparency favors open designs. You can audit agent definitions, run fairness probes, and replicate studies. Interpretability is a first-class feature, not an afterthought.
But enterprises need managed compliance, red teaming, incident response, and audit logs out of the box. Procurement is allergic to DIY risk.
Hybrid is pragmatic. Open schemas for agent internals with a governed runtime for privacy, safety, and reporting.
Let's get concrete on evaluation. How do you know a virtual student is real enough?
Triangulate expert ratings on authenticity, alignment with psychological theory, and outcome validity. Do the same interventions move internal states and behaviors predictably?
We also A/B test interventions. For instance, process praise versus outcome praise should shift persistence and error recovery in distinct, measurable ways.
And guardrails to avoid stereotyping. no single trait defining a persona, plus adversarial tests to catch bias triggers.
Privacy helps too. Generate synthetic personas and avoid personal data, so trainees practice safely without leaking anything real.
Mind the sim-to-real gap. We do periodic calibration with human sessions, like measure twice, deploy once.
Quick pulse on recent developments. What's changed that makes this feasible now?
Regulations in multiple regions now require transparency in higher-risk training tools. The internal debate transcript helps satisfy documentation requirements.
New agent benchmarks and sandbox tool use flows are emerging, letting you test self-consistency, recovery from confusion, and robustness under stress.
And teachers increasingly want explain why, not just explain what, so the transcript doubles as a metacognitive coach.
Humor me. Do these inner parliaments ever filibuster?
We cap the rounds, so no endless speeches. Think spirited debate, then vote, not talk till sunrise.
My own algebra memories still try to filibuster, no offense to linear equations.
How do you scale to thousands of trainees without melting servers?
Batch scenarios, cache persona states, and use lightweight inference for inner rounds. Keep heavy analytics off-path to preserve responsiveness.
Integrate with learning platforms to auto-sequence scenarios, collect reflections, and track growth. Practice, feedback, reflection, repeat.
Accessibility matters, voice, adaptive pacing, and multilingual options, so every trainee can engage, not just fast readers.
In clinical training include clear boundaries and disclaimers. These are practice environments, not diagnoses, and escalation paths must be obvious.
Give me short punches, predictions for the next year or two.
Agentic platforms will ship skills and emotions libraries, so you compose personas like API calls. Grit module here, anxiety there.
We'll see standard introspection APIs, show me your inner debate, becoming as normal as model logs.
Training orgs will measure impact via reduced ramp time and fewer escalations, not just quiz scores.
Teachers will adopt good input, good output as a mantra, designing prompts that scaffold thinking rather than demand answers.
Leaders should fund scenario authoring pipelines. Content quality beats model size for behavior realism.
Research will push toward causal validation. Does changing one belief reliably change downstream behavior across contexts?
That's a wrap. Agentic minds, transparent debates, and a path from theory to practice. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Coming up, a quick recap of what matters most.
Narrated by the AI voice of Shri. The central topic is a psychological simulation system that models human behavior using multiple internal agents. It simulates an inner parliament where psychological factors debate and shape behavior. An inner parliament means internal agents for anxiety, confidence, motivation, and skills argue and reach a decision. The approach is grounded in psychological theory and prioritizes realistic human responses. It contrasts with black box neural models by exposing its internal reasoning. The goal is psychological authenticity, not perfect task performance. Internal agents include threat avoidance, math anxiety, spatial reasoning, goal pursuit, procedural fluency, and self-efficacy. Self-efficacy means a person's belief that they can succeed at a task. Math anxiety means negative emotions about mathematics that disrupt thinking and memory. Goal pursuit represents motivation to persist and focus on objectives. Procedural fluency reflects how easily someone executes basic steps and routines. Each agent proposes an initial reaction, then they debate across several rounds. Coalitions form among agents, and the dominant view determines the final behavior. A transcript reveals which agents influence the outcome and why. A student may freeze on an algebra question because math anxiety and threat avoidance overpower self-efficacy. The same student may solve a geometry problem confidently because spatial reasoning becomes more influential. Teacher training uses these students to practice supportive strategies and classroom interventions. Growth mindset reframing can be modeled as strengthening motivation and resilience. Growth mindset means the belief that abilities can improve with effort and feedback. Teachers can provide scaffolding within the zone of proximal development and observe internal changes. The zone of proximal development means the range where a learner can succeed with guidance. The system supports cognitive apprenticeship by making thinking visible during practice. Cognitive apprenticeship means learning by observing expert reasoning and receiving guided feedback. Researchers can test psychological hypotheses by tuning agent parameters and running controlled simulations. The platform complements but does not replace studies with real people. Professional training in healthcare and customer service can simulate trust, anxiety, or frustration dynamics. Key challenges include validating realism, choosing constructs, and calibrating parameters across contexts. Open questions involve how many agents are needed and how to generalize profiles across domains. The system supports deliberate practice by allowing repeated attempts with immediate targeted feedback. Deliberate practice means focused repetition with feedback to build skill. Using transcripts can strengthen metacognition about learner and teacher thinking. Metacognition means reflecting on one's own thinking and learning processes. Future work includes libraries of validated agent profiles and richer visualizations of internal debates. These simulations could improve training, speed research, and make artificial intelligence more interpretable and human-aligned. If a specific insight resonated, send this podcast to a teammate and compare takeaways. Shared reflection compounds value.